Pretending to be a poor fiancée, she regretted it. My fiancée owed 1 million in foreign debt after being defrauded. In order to help her pay off her debt, I worked 8 jobs a day and worked as a drinking companion until I had stomach bleeding. On Valentine's Day, a wealthy woman spent $600,000 to book the bar where I worked to propose, and she received a $10,000 tip just for decorating the place. As I was leaving after getting the tip, I heard a familiar female voice shout, "I, Sophia, will marry no one but you." I originally thought it was just the same name. But the moment the woman turned around, I saw a familiar face. It was my fiancée Sophia. She put the ring on the man's hand and clasped his fingers together. The man asked her, "You are going to marry me, what about your boyfriend?" Sophia sneered, "I was just playing with him after losing a bet. He was the only one who was so stupid that he thought I was scammed and was helping me pay off my debts." Because Sophia was with a poor boy like me, she was kicked out of the Sophia family and the father-daughter relationship was severed. She was young and inexperienced, and was defrauded of a lot of money, and she even took out an online loan of 1 million. In order to help her pay off the debt, I took out the 300,000 yuan that I had saved for many years to pay for the down payment on the wedding house, but it was far from enough. For fear of the interest compounding too much, I worked 8 jobs a day and worked as a waitress until I had stomach bleeding. On Valentine's Day, a wealthy woman spent $600,000 to book the bar where I worked to propose, and she received a $10,000 tip just for decorating the proposal scene. I made an exception and ordered a bouquet of roses as a surprise for Sophia. "Baby, happy Valentine's Day. I made more than 10,000 today. Isn't my husband awesome? Baby, don't you want to have a big meal? I'll make you 4 dishes and a soup when I get home." After sending the message, I took back my phone. Sophia must be advertising. She is a spoiled girl. If she hadn't been with a poor boy like me, she wouldn't have suffered at all in the past 3 years. The last time she replied to my message when she was working part-time, she was scolded and fined. She cried for a long time out of grievance. Now, she will get back to me after she gets the part-time job. Whenever I feel tired, seeing the cute emoticons and funny selfies she sends me can make me feel refreshed. Sometimes I ask her if she regrets it. She hugged me and acted coquettishly, saying, "The luckiest thing in my life is meeting me and falling in love with me." Seeing how she was easily satisfied, I secretly vowed to make lots of money and spoil Sophia like a little princess again. Thinking of this, I quickly set up the proposal scene. Although it was very cliché to arrange the roses in a heart shape, I heard from my colleagues that these roses were all airlifted in. One flower cost several $1,000s, but today we used 999 roses alone. I was amazed. Rich people are so romantic. It is said that the rich woman also specially customized a pair of diamond rings, spending several million. However, the rich woman tonight is also kind-hearted and beautiful. She said that if the proposal is successful, the employees who set up the scene will receive an extra 10,000 yuan in tips. I'm very glad that I work part-time in a bar, even though I vomited several times and had stomach bleeding after drinking. With this tip, Sophia can relax a lot. After arranging everything, my colleague and I waited in the corner for the rich woman to propose for an extra tip. Under the dim light, a man in a suit and tie came in first. Seeing the man's attire and appearance, it was no wonder that a wealthy woman would be attracted to him and spend money to come and propose to him. I have no interest in other people's love. I lowered my head and took out my cell phone, but Sophia hadn't replied to my message yet. She hasn't gotten off work yet at this time, so nothing will happen to her. I felt a little uneasy and wanted to leave, but my colleague pulled me back and said, "The rich woman is here." The lights were dim, and all I saw was a woman in a dress, holding a big bouquet of roses, kneeling on one knee, and handing the roses to a man. "I, Sophia, will marry you, David, so just obey me." The moment I heard the name, my mind went blank. Sophia, isn't she my fiancée? I thought they just had the same name, but I didn't expect that the moment the man agreed, the woman handed the man a rose and took out a ring and put it on the man's hand. "David, I've got you covered. Shall we go get the marriage certificate tomorrow? You're going to marry me, what about your boyfriend?" Sophia sneered, "I was just playing with him after losing a bet. He was the only one who was so stupid that he thought I was scammed and was helping me pay off my debts." David smiled when he heard this, and then Sophia and David interlocked their fingers. She smiled brightly and said, "All the employees who arranged the work today will be rewarded 20,000 yuan. After that, David carried her away, and it was self-evident what they were going to do. After the proposal, the next step is naturally the bridal chamber. I stumbled away with the money only after I could no longer see Sophia. The 2 thick stacks of money were like a sharp sword, cutting me into pieces. Sophia didn't come back all night, and I sat there all night, watching the sky turn pale outside the window. The phone was placed on the table, but there was no message or call all night. It wasn't until 10 o'clock that Sophia pushed the door open. I sat in a chair and applied an ice pack to the redness and swelling on my face. Seeing that she had changed her clothes and sat next to me, I didn't say anything to her. Sophia's eyes were watery. She covered my hand holding the ice pack and said distressfully, "How did you get hurt? Were you bullied as a bar hostess?" I calmly said, "I accidentally fell because I was drunk." She came over and kissed me gently on the cheek. "Be careful, a loving kiss won't hurt." The moment Sophia came closer, I saw she was wearing a necklace with a ring on it. I knew it was a pair with the ring she used to propose to me last night. A couple's ring worth millions. I laughed at myself and thanked her for her thoughtfulness in not wearing it blatantly on my hand and making me embarrassed. "Sophia, you've already proposed and got the marriage certificate, why are you still looking for me?" After I left the bar, I was stopped by some young masters. They forced me to drink 2 bottles of liquor and generously gave me another 20,000 yuan. He also scattered money in the air and made me crawl like a dog to pick up the money. When I refused, they beat me up and told me that if Sophia hadn't treated me like a toy, they would have killed me long ago. "You are just a toy for entertainment." If Miss Sophia hadn't lost the bet and pretended to be poor, how could she have fallen in love with a poor boy like you? You really think Miss Sophia was deceived and still engaged in online loans? How stupid. Miss Sophia was just gambling to see if she could cheat 1 million from you. Also, Miss Sophia has proposed to her sweetheart David, and they will get the marriage certificate tomorrow. You country bumpkin orphan should get out. But with your looks, you can still be kept by an old woman. If you kneel on the ground and kowtow 3 times, I will recommend a rich woman to you and ensure that you will have no worries about food and clothing. A group of people left with laughter, but the words they left behind hit me deeply. The cold fingers brought me back to my senses. I looked into Sophia's eyes full of admiration and could not find a trace of guilt, as if she really loved me terribly. Sophia put down the ice pack and gently rubbed my face. "It's easy to get sick if you use the ice for too long. Does your face still hurt? Why don't you say anything?" I didn't say anything and just looked at her quietly. I was afraid that I would open my mouth and ask her why she lied to me. "Michael, what's wrong with you?" My eyes turned red, and before I cried, I hugged Sophia tightly. Her body froze, but she didn't push me away, and asked me worriedly, "Michael, what happened to you? Does your face hurt? Are there any other injuries? If not, I'll take you to the hospital." I shook my head and choked up a little as I said, "I'm just tired." Seeing that I didn't say anything, Sophia reached out and stroked my back. "Take a rest if you're tired." I let go of Sophia and tentatively said, "Baby, do you have anything you want to tell me? If she confesses, if she hasn't gotten married to David, then I can give her a chance." Sophia lowered her head, looked at me sheepishly, and played with her hair with her hands. "I'm sorry, Michael. I had something at home yesterday, so I didn't come back." She said cautiously, "You won't blame me." My throat was blocked, and I knew she didn't want to confess at all. If I had left after setting up the scene yesterday, would she still be planning to keep playing the game of hugging people left and right? I opened my mouth, but still didn't tell the truth. What a coward I am. I knew clearly that she was playing a trick on me, but I still held on to a glimmer of hope that the person yesterday was not her. Can a relationship that has lasted for more than 1,000 days really be fake? She is willing to act with me. Does that mean she still loves me a little? With a broken heart, I looked at Sophia, who was about to leave, and said, "Baby, I want to talk to you tonight." Sophia hesitated for a moment, then nodded, "Okay, I'll be back after I hand out the flyers." I watched Sophia leave and clicked on the phone on the table. Last night, after I was humiliated by that group of young masters, I received a text message on my mobile phone from an unknown number, inviting me to attend his wedding reunion dinner tomorrow night. David's name was noted. I know Sophia won't be back tonight. I looked at the empty and narrow rental house, just like my empty heart. I also know that Sophia and I can never go back. After I sorted out my broken heart, I went out to work part-time. During the day, it is my 3rd part-time job. I work as a waiter in a private club. The customers are all rich people and the tips they give are also considerable. I had just changed my clothes when the foreman stopped me and asked me to work as a doorman. I sighed, thinking that I had bad luck today and didn't get much tips, and then I laughed at myself. I was such a cheapskate that I was still thinking about paying off debts. As I walked to the door and stood there, a Cullinan stopped in front of me. I know about this car because Sophia said it is her favorite car. The man in a suit came down and I smiled and said, "Welcome." The man glanced at me coldly and sneered, as if I were trash. He deliberately shook the ring in his hand. "You are very pleasing to my eye. Please block the wine for me later. The tip is 100,000. Also, I am Mr. David." Mr. David. When I saw the ring on his hand, I realized that he was the man Sophia proposed to last night, David. Now, he should be Sophia's husband. The doorman next to him came forward with a fawning look in his eyes. Mr. David, he is new here and doesn't know the rules. I will block the bar for you. Mr. David smiled coldly. Who do you think you are? Get out of my way and don't dirty my eyes. He pointed at me and said, I just want him to stop drinking. The doorman glared at me angrily. When the supervisor found out, he specifically told me to follow David's instructions in everything. After all, he was the son-in-law of the chairman of the private club. If you completed well, I will give you a reward of 20,000. Has Sophia already obtained the marriage certificate with the chairman's son-in-law? This private club earns a lot of money, but it's hard for her, a grown woman, to work hard every day pretending to distribute flyers to trick me into being defrauded. After more than 1,000 days, she can be considered caring. I wanted to refuse, but the foreman disagreed and said that I was ungrateful and that it was a great blessing to be able to serve the son-in-law. But I don't want this blessing. After learning yesterday that Sophia was not defrauded, I felt like a huge stone had been kicked into my heart, making it hard for me to breathe. The so-called love for me and the so-called good fortune to meet me are nothing but lies on her part. She just thought I was a clown. I was pushed in by the manager and had no choice but to keep up with David. When I walked into the room, the young masters who humiliated me that night were sitting around a table, staring at David and me in a daze. David sat down and said deliberately, Sorry, I'm late. I have to drink 3 glasses of wine as a punishment. He signaled me with his eyes to drink, and just as I picked up the glass, he reached out to stop me. The private club has a rule that you have to kneel down to drink. You won't refuse this 100,000 yuan tip, will you? I clenched my fingers into a fist and resisted the urge to punch him. I am poor, but I am willing to pay back the money for Sophia because I love her. But I am not a plaything for these rich people to be degraded and trampled upon. I wanted to turn around and leave, but David said, For the sake of your good impression, I will let you go as long as you finish this bottle of wine. He pointed at the bottle of strongest liquor on the table, with a determined look in his eyes. I know that if I don't obey him today, he will torture me in 1,000 ways. If I lose my job, I'm afraid I won't be able to pay the rent this month. I am not a well-off young lady or young master, I still need this job. David, I hope you keep your promise. I picked up the bottle and drank it down. I have a bad stomach, and the strong liquor irritated my stomach like a burning fire. I wanted to vomit, but I forced myself to swallow it. A whole bottle of wine seemed as long as a century. When I put down the bottle, my vision went dark and my mouth tasted like rust. I resisted the urge to spit blood and gritted my teeth and said, Mr. David, I'm done. I turned to leave, but David blocked my way like a madman, tore off a check and threw it in my face. Drink another bottle and I'll give you 200,000. I refused and he suddenly kicked me in the stomach. My body hit the table hard and I collapsed to the ground, holding my aching stomach. David was very satisfied with my miserable condition and poured wine on my face. This bottle of wine is a reward from me. I will give you 200,000. The strong liquor flowed into my eyes. My suppressed body couldn't bear it anymore and I coughed up a large mouthful of blood. He dodged me with disgust and sneered, You are a piece of trash, and you still want to get Sophia. Last night, I asked my brothers to tell you the truth. You won't disbelieve it, right? Sophia said she was defrauded and owed 1 million yuan in online loans. What a joke. He raised his leather shoe and stepped hard on my face. I heard that you used the 300,000 yuan down payment to pay off the loan. Let me tell you today that Sophia gave me the 300,000 yuan. Here, this is the tip for these 2 bottles of wine. No more, no less, exactly 300,000. He kicked me away, his face full of sarcasm. Take your cheap 300,000 and get out of here. Sophia is my wife now, you low-level scum, don't even dream about it. I got up in a panic, tore up the check and threw it in his face. Just as I was about to speak, I heard a familiar voice. Dear brother David, I'm here, you too, why are you calling so many people? Sophia came in with a look of admiration on her face, and the moment she saw me, she was stunned. I didn't expect that after being humiliated by David, I would bump into Sophia. I was covered in wine and blood, wearing a messy doorman outfit, and I calmly looked at Sophia who was dressed in a princess outfit. The foreman led Sophia in. He saw David's unhappy face, and saw me in a mess. He looked worried and said in a deep voice, Michael, how do you do things? You can't even stop the drinking. You are fired. I opened my mouth, wanting to explain, but then I thought, forget it. How could the foreman offend the chairman's son-in-law for something like mine? I gave the heart-picking sign to the foreman and staggered to leave. Sophia looked at David with worry in her eyes, but she said nothing. I dodged Sophia and said, "Stay away from me, Mississippi. I can't afford to pay for dirtying your clothes." The group of young masters who humiliated me whistled, "Go away, you untouchable. You rubbish. Don't offend Ms. Sophia." Sophia's face darkened and she whispered, "Everyone get out." The foreman and the group of young masters left. They bumped into me on purpose. I held on and swallowed the blood. Even if I am a clown, I have to maintain my pitiful self-esteem. Sophia wanted to come over, but I looked at her coldly. "Don't come over, I think it's dirty." David wanted to refute, but was stopped by Sophia. I looked at Sophia holding his hand intimately and the pair of sparkling rings, and what hurt more than my stomach was my heart. But I clearly don't have a heart disease. I laughed at myself and said, "Is it fun to play tricks on me? You made up a trumped-up scam and tricked me into a $1 million online loan, and then watched me take out my savings that I had saved for many years. Are you arrogant?" Sophia's eyes were red and she choked up, "No, I." It was so ridiculous that she didn't know how to explain it. I chuckled, "Break it." I was ready to leave. If I didn't leave now, I was afraid I would vomit blood and faint in the room. Sophia reached out and held me. "Michael, please listen to my explanation. I didn't mean to lie to you. I shook her hand off. "Sophia, you proposed to Mr. David at the night bar yesterday. Do you know who set up the scene? It's me, the fool you guys played around with. It's ridiculous that I specially ordered a bouquet of roses for you to celebrate Valentine's Day. But how could a high-ranking lady like you be interested in those little things? How ironic. She is obviously a princess spoiled by her parents, with a sweetheart in the rich circle. She is clearly the moon in the sky, so why would she come to mess with a lowly speck of dust like me?" My eyes went dark and fingers dug into my palms, forcing me to regain consciousness. David came over and handed over a check. "Okay, after all that talk, you just want money. Don't you think you can turn from a loser into a golden phoenix? My wife cheated you out of money, it's her fault. I'll give you 1 million, take the money and go away." I endured the dizziness and didn't have time to refuse. David added, "You were such a jinx. You deliberately killed my adoptive parents to get the 300,000. If my wife is with you, it won't be." I interrupted David with a slap and looked at Sophia with disappointment. She really knows what will hurt me the most. She clearly knew about the affair between me and my adoptive parents, but she chose to use it as a joke to please her lover. He even covered up the truth and mocked me as a villain who profited from the misfortune of others. I was so angry that my fingers were shaking, and when I wanted to scold Sophia, I spat out 2 large mouthfuls of blood. I couldn't hold on any longer and fainted on the ground. I seemed to vaguely hear Sophia shouting anxiously, "Michael." When I opened my eyes and smelled the familiar smell of disinfectant, I knew I was in the hospital. I pulled out the needle and just walked to the door of the ward when I saw Sophia slap David. David's face turned pale, and he persuaded Sophia in a soft voice, "Wife, we have already obtained the marriage certificate, you can't divorce me just because he has stomach cancer." I just felt my mind go blank. "Gastric cancer, are you talking about me?" I smiled bitterly. In order to repay the so-called online loan, I drank heavily and didn't care about gastric bleeding. Unexpectedly, I had the most serious gastric cancer. But it doesn't matter. I'm an orphan and if I die, all will be over. Sophia's eyes were red, tears were streaming down her cheeks, and she choked up as she spoke. "Brother David, because of a lie I told, I killed someone. I beg you, please divorce me. I just want to be with Michael and spend his last moments with him. You and I still have a future, and I just want to satisfy Michael now." I held back my disgust and found it extremely ironic. Sophia wanted to leave, but David hugged her and kissed her without saying a word. I was too lazy to watch the two of them arguing, so I left the ward. Walking on the street, looking at the white walls, I inexplicably thought of the scene when Sophia and I first met. I was also working as a bar hostess at the bar, but unexpectedly I saw a cute girl coming to the bar to get me drunk. She cried silently and got herself drunk, and was about to be picked up by someone. I saved her. It was also that time that I got into a fight with someone and got bruised and battered, but I managed to protect her even though she was drunk and drugged. I sent her to the hospital, fearing that something might happen to her, and stayed with her until she woke up. From then on, she pestered me, saying over and over again that she loved me and wanted to marry me. In order to help me, he even said that he was accidentally cheated and was tricked into taking out a loan of 1 million yuan. Thinking of this, I sneered. What kind of love is that? I'm just a plaything for the young lady when she's feeling empty and lonely. I even had evil thoughts. If I died, I could punish Sophia. But how can a person without a heart be sad? I quietly left the hospital, as this stomach cancer could not be cured. I no longer have any desires in this world. The phone rang, and when I saw it was Sophia, I hung up and blocked her. Afterwards, a message popped up on WeChat. I wanted to close it, but accidentally opened it. The entire screen is filled with messages from Sophia. Michael, why did you hang up on me? Why did you leave the hospital? You are not in good health. I will send professionals to take care of your body. Would you please come back? I really love you, and I'm not married to David. Can you answer my call, or where are you? We can meet and talk? There were many short essays later, but I didn't read them and deleted them directly. Until now, she still hasn't told the truth. Why should I rush to be that fool? When I returned to the rental house, I simply packed a few clothes into the suitcase and looked at the rental house that I had decorated bit by bit. I was the only one who regarded this place as home. I wanted to move out of the rental house, so I contacted the landlord. Coincidentally, the landlord had time, so he came to inspect the house. But before I saw the landlord, I saw Sophia, who looked flustered. Sophia rushed in, her expression visibly relieved. She panted, "It's good for you to be at home. Come with me to the hospital. Your stomach is not feeling well. I'll ask the doctor to take good care of you." I looked at Sophia calmly. "We are over. You and I have nothing to do with each other. But I don't want the rest of the money. You have to give me the 300,000. 300,000 is the compensation to the adoptive parents. That year, after my adoptive parents passed away in a car accident, my adoptive father's brother wanted to keep the money for himself and slandered me, saying that I deliberately killed my adoptive parents. The matter became a big deal. I tried my best to defend myself, but it was all in vain. In the end, I had to keep the compensation from my adoptive parents, but I also couldn't keep their house. My adoptive father's brother has been slandering me and wants to silence me for money. Eventually, I left my hometown and came to the city to work. After Sophia and I started dating, I told her everything, including the money I took out. But she still used my affairs to please David. When I left, I heard David tell Sophia that he would give her the wedding of the century. Now he is lying to me again, saying that he likes me. I don't know if he is just trying to play a trick on me, or simply don't want to feel guilty. I laughed and said deliberately, "Sophia, you didn't come home that night. When you came in, did I ask you if you had anything to say to me?" I gave her a chance. "After I knew your identity, did you say that if you don't love me anymore, just tell me and I'll leave? But why did you lie to me?" My voice choked with sobs. "Yes, I know you are a rich lady, but I also know that a poor boy like me will never be worthy of you even if I spend my whole life. You can leave me, but why did you lie to me? You said you borrowed $1 million online, and I vomited blood several times to pay it back. Sophia, do you feel a sense of accomplishment when you tease a loser like me?" Sophia cried and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lie to you. I really like you, but I couldn't save face, so I let them instigate me to cheat you out of your money, just to see how much I mean to you. I had $1 million yuan in online loans. When I was most depressed, I wanted to jump off the building and end it all. But Sophia wanted to be kicked out of the family, so I gritted my teeth and persevered. I thought that as long as we worked hard, the two of us would always have a future. It's ridiculous that I was living her lies. If it wasn't for paying her back, how could I have vomited blood every time I drank and eventually developed stomach cancer? 300,000, pay it back. Giving you this money is an insult to it." Sophia looked at me pitifully and said, "I'll give you everything. I'll transfer 1 million to you. Can you come to the hospital with me first?" When I heard the sound of the money being credited to my phone, I returned the extra money. Only 300,000 were left. "Miss Sophia, I won't take advantage of you for a penny. I just want what I deserve." Sophia took my hand and said, "We can go to the hospital now." I waved Sophia away, packed my things indifferently, and waited for the landlord. When the landlady came, she took a casual look and returned my deposit. He also asked me why I was leaving, and I made up an excuse, saying that I had a job transfer and would be leaving here in the future. After the landlord left, I left with my suitcase. But Sophia held my hand tightly. "Michael, please, I shouldn't have lied to you, but I really love you." Without even turning my head, I said coldly, "I know I have stomach cancer. I hope you won't show up during my last days and dirty my reincarnation path." I pushed Sophia away and heard her crying sadly, but what did that have to do with me? I love her, she is my little princess who I hold in my mouth and in my hands. If I don't love her, then she is a stranger. After that, I left here and returned to my hometown. As time passed, the people here had forgotten me. I took out the deposit returned by the landlord and rented a small house in the village. The weather was cold, but I couldn't help but smile when I looked at the familiar yet strange place. It's so nice to live a peaceful life. It would be even better if the adoptive parents were still alive. A month later, I heard that a young lady came to the village. I just felt like I had no peace, and my last moments were making me sick. But Sophia never appeared in front of me once. I also resisted the urge to leave. Fallen leaves return to their roots, and I just want to live a good life for myself in the last moments. Another month later, I started vomiting blood frequently. I knew my life was coming to an end. While I was still conscious, I donated the 300,000 yuan in my phone to a teenager with leukemia. In order to save him, his parents bought a house and a car, but they were still short of the last 300,000 yuan. This money of mine is truly life-saving money. The boy's operation was successful and he came to thank me with flowers. I smiled and looked at the young face, feeling comforted. My little help can help him get healthy and see a wider world. Really good. I also signed up for organ and body donation. Although I am a tiny speck of dust, I can also be a spark. One day, after I got out of bed, my vision went dark and I fell to the ground. But then I heard a familiar voice saying, "Send him to the hospital." Didn't we agree not to appear in front of me? Don't you want to dirty the path of my reincarnation? But never mind, I'm going to die too. Finally, I closed my eyes. I seemed to be trapped in a dark vortex, unable to see the light anymore, and my ears were filled with annoying crying sounds. I heard Sophia say, "Please, save him, he's only 25. But I just want to die." After I died, my soul floated in the air and I felt free from everything. Suddenly, I saw David running towards me, holding Sophia, who had cut her wrists, in his arms. "Doctor, if you can't be saved, I want you all to be buried with me." It was also at this time that I found out that Sophia was not married to David. But her proposal was real. She lied to me, and it's true. It's also true that she killed me. I was about to leave when I saw Sophia, who was also a spirit. She had a look of surprise on her face. "Michael, we will sleep together and die together. I promise." "I refuse. No matter whether I live or die, I don't want to be associated with Sophia anymore."